So again, as I said previously, the main thing that I try and do, especially with myself. So a little bit about me. I'm probably the most anxious property investor you're ever going to meet. I can hear my voice trembling now. Mark knows this as well. So it's something that I've had to do a lot of work on myself, and also in mental health as well. So mental health is very close to my heart. Family from it, I've seen the effects of it, and obviously, I'm sure now with isolation and loneliness, it's becoming more apparent. So one thing I want everyone to take away, if it is just one thing, is that we have the ability now and the opportunity to control the controllables. And that's been a mantra of my life, at least for the last few years. And with obviously everything that's gone on, nobody expected it. We've almost lost a lot of control. And if you're anything like me in property, one of the main things I always try and do is I want to oversee everything. I don't like delegating tasks. I need to be double checking every single thing. And that just heightens my anxiety. So that's probably certain things that now I'm having to kind of let go and let pass. So all I want to do is just try and give you 6 points that maybe you should start implementing. And then obviously, if you have any questions after that, I can signpost you to either better organizations or more experienced people. Or I can give you my intake in terms of what I've done personally. So the first one is I play a game, and I play this game. I play it with my wife, and it's called What's the Worst That Can Happen? So if you think of like the Dr. Pepper analogy as an example, and it works really, really well. It's something I learned from a therapist, and especially for now in terms of us as property people. So we've got a site now which has come almost to a halt. I've got a tenant who has read something from the government website, and she's decided she doesn't want to pay me rent for the next 3 months. Now that's probably happened to many of us across this meeting here. So initially when that happened, my anxiety was high. I was stressing. I was struggling. I was thinking, oh my God, I'm not going to have no income now, because obviously I rely on my property income to help me move forward in life. So as a result of this, I play the game. What's the worst that could happen? So extreme examples, but if my tenant doesn't pay me, for example, I'm not going to die. Now that's actually the worst thing that could happen. I could effectively die from the situation. Once you write that, then the next thing could be my family are safe. And all of a sudden, as you start writing the actual worst things that could actually happen to any of us right now, you start seeing gratitude that all those things are still here, i.e. I'm still alive, my family are still alive. And then you kind of get to about points 5 or 6, and around points 5 and 6, it's, can I survive? Can I take a mortgage interest holiday if I need to, for example? Can I just mitigate this just for the next 3 months? Or can I think of an alternate income stream? And when you start doing that, one, it makes you creative. You think of solutions possibly, but also it alleviates that initial overwhelm and anxiety. So for any of us who may be mid projects or unable to complete on a deal, or workers aren't turning up to site, for example, just try that exercise, honestly, and try and make it fun. Like, think of the craziest things ever, like whatever it is, what's the worst that could happen? The second thing is to learn to reframe your pain. So for many of us, and I hope situations are great for every single person across this meeting, but for some of us, it's not always great. So for some of us, we can't see our families, and some of our families might be isolated. They might be ill, for example. And loneliness and isolation, I learned this in my social work career a long time ago. It's one of the main determinants between mental health, and it does affect people's mental health. So get on Zoom calls as much as you can. Do this kind of stuff, because we still need human interaction. So what I mean by reframing your pain is, I started moaning in the first week. So that I moaned about 3 things. I moaned about not being able to go to the cinema, even though I hardly go to the cinema. But I think it's one of those things, when you can't do something, you instantly want to do it. The second one was I couldn't see my family, very, very close to all of my family. And the third one was I can't go to the gym. So I had my little moan. I got over it after a few days. And then what I did is I just reframed that. So I reframed it to, my family are healthy, they're safe, they're in isolation. The second one was, I have Amazon and Netflix, which obviously cost me a lot less money than buying all of the junk I buy when I go to the cinema, for example. And the third was exercise. So exercise is something I'll move on to shortly, but I just started getting more creative with my exercises. So I've got football that I kick around in the dining room, which the wife's not happy about, but it keeps me happy. I've started going for runs, which really actually helps my anxiety. So I just go for a run, and any of my thoughts and stuff, I just try and think of a solution, or I just put some music in and just completely relax. So that's really helped me. And then in the afternoon, me and the wife go for a walk. And it's nice because we probably never did this before. If I'm being honest, we never did do it before. So now we get that quality time, phones away, and we're just being creative, but at the same time we're staying active, which is really important. So The third point, apologies for if I'm racing through this, so just tell me to slow down if I need to. But the third point is science has proven that it's better to reduce negativity than it is to increase positivity. So I'm all for being positive. I'm always smiling as much as I possibly can. And positivity is great. Affirmations are fantastic. I do affirmations all the time. But reducing negativity will actually have a better impact for all of us, every single one of us here. Science proves that. If you want an example of it, just think about when you hear negative news, how quickly that travels and how quickly that sticks in your mind. So you instantly want to try and reframe any of the negativity. In fact, you don't even want to, you don't want to know it, don't acknowledge it. So I play a game with my wife. Bless her, she has to play all these games with me and all these wacky ideas that I get across this my own journey. So effectively, if she says something negative, or if I moan about not being able to go to the gym, instantly we stop that, and it's okay. How do we exercise today? How can we be creative? It's raining. Okay, what can we do inside, for example? And again, you can do this in property as well. You have to think outside the box as much as you possibly can. We can't view properties, for example. So one of the things I've done is I've started attending property meetups. Now, before pre-COVID, I'm not really attending many property meetups because, again, the anxiety and just being around a lot of people, I kind of struggle with that. So for me, I've just taken this opportunity to do what I'm doing today. So definitely try that. I promise you it will help. The fourth one is nutrition. So nutrition is actually linked to your brain health. So effectively mental health, when we speak about mental health, whether it's anxiety, whether it's PTSD, or any sort of trauma that you've been through, when you have mental illness, it actually means your brain's poorly. So it's just like a physical illness, only we can't see it. So one of the things that actually affect that is your nutrition. So when you eat bad food, i.e. processed food or just manufactured food, indirectly your brain is receiving signals from that food that this isn't really good information. Almost like, for example, if you're building a house and you build it with shoddy materials, that house somewhere down the line is going to fall down. So if you're putting bad food or information, should we call it, into your body slowly, especially if you're already an anxious person, that doesn't help. So one of the keys I'd say to anyone listening here is try and obviously up your intake of vegetables, high fibrous foods, water. Again, I can give you a list. I know it all off the top of my head. So anything you need, just let me know. I'll send you a list of loads of foods, and you want them nutrient dense. So there's calorie dense and nutrient dense. Now your calorie dense foods are the fun foods. That's your donuts, that's your cookies and your cakes. But it's just high in calories, and there's no real nutritional content there. Whereas your nutrient dense foods are like your broccolis or your spinach, for example. Try and get that in as much as possible, because that's going to help with your brain health. It's also going to help with your clarity, with your focus and everything else moving forward. Control the controllables again. And also as well, I've seen all the memes, and I thought I was going to be that person as well, that everyone's putting on weight during this period because we're all just sitting at home eating. And I was scared about that because I normally eat 3,500 calories. And if anyone counts calories, that's quite a lot of food a day. So effectively, what I had to do was I had to use my calories as almost like a furlough. So if you use the example of furlough, for example, you're only given 80% of your salary, for example. Now, that means you have to be a bit more conscientious with your decisions. So you can't just spend on everything. You might have to just strip down on a few things. So with my calories, I maybe can't have 2 cookies. I can only have 1. So for example, I'm going to have something more satiating, for example. So try and be a bit clever. Or if you got kids, one thing I used to do with my siblings was I used to try and spend it like, so obviously I wasn't telling them the whole calories. They'd find that absolutely boring, but I'd effectively say, okay, you can have 1 of these, but then we need to have this and this, just kind of making a whole kind of healthy diet throughout the day, if that makes sense. Just moving on ever so slightly. So the next point number 5 is the 4% a day rule. And I believe that we're all in this journey, and I hope so, for not just the benefits of what property does, but more importantly, to get our time back. I can't imagine anyone gets into this to obviously waste more time. We want to get some time freedom back, and whether that's with our family, with our friends, or just with ourselves. So the 4% a day rule is something I implemented probably about 5 years ago in my own life. And all it means is 1 hour a day. So 4% of the day is 60 minutes. And in that 60 minutes, it has to be about you. You have to be selfish for that 60 minutes, in order to be your best self. So in that time, I communicate with my wife. I have to let her know first. She lets me know when her time is. I let her know when my time is. And in that time, it's an hour of just me. And that could be listening to a podcast. It could be listening to music. It could be something such as simple as journaling. So for my anxiety, I journal a lot. So if somebody struggles with anxiety or scrambling thoughts, journal. I can't explain how therapeutic it is that when you take something from here and you transfer it onto a piece of paper, instantly it feels like a weight off your shoulders. Secondly, it also somehow, if you keep repeating it, you'll start thinking of solutions for that problem, and also it'll help you sleep better at night as well. So that's something that I definitely implement. Try and get your 4% a day. Now, I know parents out there, so I haven't got kids. Parents out there might be saying this is difficult. Well, try and implement it as a family. Maybe say, okay, between these times, we're going to do X, Y, and Z, and maybe everyone scatters off into their own rooms and you spend that hour just really enjoying yourself, because while we're locked in our four walls, we can drive each other crazy. So that's something that I definitely implement. And then finally, before I lose my voice, it's exercise. So exercise is really important, and it's great to see people out going for walks together, going for runs, and doing home workouts. I think Joe Wicks has got a great thing going on with YouTube. So definitely recommend that. I used to do some on YouTube, but you don't want to be watching those. They're very, very cringy, and I've stopped doing them actually. But in terms of just staying active and like getting your blood flow going, one of the things that COVID will affect, it's your lungs. It'll attack your lungs straight away. So we want to make sure our heart is nice and healthy. So make sure that you're looking after your heart in the best way. Even if it is just a walk, just go for a walk in the evening or in the morning, whatever time suits you. Jump around with the kids, dance. Dancing is brilliant. Like dancing is like the best way to do exercise without realizing it's exercise, and it's fun as well. So try and get yourself moving. I'd always recommend, again, 30 minutes minimum a day. I'd probably say, as we're more sedentary now and we're just watching a lot of Netflix and Amazon and jumping on calls like this, we need to make sure maybe a little bit more. So maybe give yourself another 4% of that day. So that's kind of all I really wanted to touch on here. Hopefully not teaching anyone to suck any eggs here, but I just think we also have an opportunity now where we do have the ability to control, in my opinion, the most important things in our life, which is our physical and our mental health. And they are linked. They're massively linked. So let's try and create some disciplines on a daily basis that we can do right now, so that when we leave this, we're more resilient and we're more able to take on any of the problems that maybe property is going to throw our way in the future. So that's what I wanted to say. Thank you, everyone, for obviously listening.